Hello everyone, Storm11 here. Today we'll be tracking a pretty active pattern across portions of the East United States that could bring in some multiple snow chances, maybe a chance for an ice storm as well, where we're going to have a southeast ridge going on just across portions of southeast United States. So you got big area of cold air in here. You'll have a stationary front here. You can get all these lows go up along this frontier. You could get some ice just to the north of it, and also possibility for some snow. Multiple snow chances just to the north of that. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this video. So let's go ahead and get started with the GFS. Now, right now we do have a low pressure system just off the coast of New Jersey, bringing in a decent amount of snow across portions of the northeastern United States. That should move out by later today. But then as we kind of get into Monday, we start to notice a little bit of a pattern change here. So our southeast ridge starts to build up a little bit to our southeast. You got cold air starting to sneak in, sneak, pretty much moving further south. And so you got one piece of energy that goes by there. Not going to cause too many issues. That could cause some snow across portions of the Midwest and to the northeast. But this is where things start to get interesting. So really beginning on Wednesday, right in here, you'll start to see some moisture start to build up. You will see a corridor of freezing rain and also decent amount of snow just to the north. And you will see this area of moisture start to grow back to the west, and all this here will be training over some of the same areas, eventually moving into portions of the mid-Atlantic. And as we continue on here, you can see here about the GFS. So this is Wednesday afternoon. You got at some spots could be some heavy freezing rain, which can cause some ice problems in some of those regions. Meanwhile, just to the north of that, areas of the blue, that is snow, and areas in this purple, that's some sleet. And you're going to see this train over the next couple of days here. So now this is getting into Thursday morning. So now your big shield of precipitation, your freezing rain shield, is really as far southwest as really portions of Texas and Oklahoma, all the way up into around Maryland here. So you got a pretty good shield here. Meanwhile, across portions of Kentucky, northwestern Tennessee, northeastern Arkansas, southern Illinois and Indiana, in southeastern Missouri, and southern Ohio. Some of those areas are experiencing some heavy freezing rain, which can really bring up some of those ice totals in some of those regions. Eventually, things should start to calm down by Thursday night. It's really a 2-day event here, and some of those areas be able to transition over to some snow, which you can get some accumulations out of that. And we're going to watch for next week. There could be another big storm system sometime about a week out, but that'll be for a different video there as well. And we'll take a look to the Canadian model. You can see here, it takes a little bit of a similar path here, but the first wave here is a little bit further north, and the second wave is a little bit further south here. So it's kind of wobbling around a little bit more than what the GFS shows. But you can see there could be a chance for a decent amount of ice and even a decent amount of snow just to the north of that freezing rain and sleet line. And as you kind of get into around, you know, uh, late week, uh, really, the weekend. There we go. The weekend, there could be another system to watch, which we'll take a look to the snowfall amounts and the ice amounts in a moment. And here's the European model, which is now actually starting to be a little bit more similar to the GFS here. You see the ice starts to begin across Kentucky, really Wednesday morning. And here we go into Wednesday night. It's still at times some heavy icing there, and eventually it should start to dissipate Thursday night there and may transition over to snow. So the European model and the GFS are similar here. So we're having a little bit better idea on this setup here. And here's the NAM. Does not go for the entire event, but does go for the first wave of precipitation, which this is Wednesday night. You can see here across southern Ohio, especially around Cincinnati, northern Kentucky, and southern Indiana, showing some spots showing some heavy icing in some of those regions. But look at that snow band there. I mean, That's moderate to heavy snow in some of those regions there, so there could be a decent amount of snow across some of those regions. And by the high-risk Canadian, it's a little bit similar, but it also has a little bit of a larger swath of freezing rain, a little bit north here. Now, these balls are going to wobble around a little bit north, a little bit south for the next few runs, but we should get a little better idea, and it should be more focused a little bit in between those two, which the GFS has been the most consistent model with this setup here, and now we're starting to see these other models start to agree with the GFS here. I mean, the GFS model's just been consistent for like the past several days with this setup here, which is impressive there to say the least there from a GFS model. So let's take a look to these snowfall totals, which we're going to wait for it to load for a little bit here. And you can see here, just going through Friday here, you got, I mean, areas in the purple, that is, you can see, here's your legend, right down here, if you guys wanted to see there. So areas in the purple, that's over 6 inches of snow that could possibly fall here. Where some of this is from the event that's going on right now, especially in this region right in there. But you could definitely tell it's a pretty active pattern here for mid into late next week. And you can see some areas of red showing up, or yeah, pretty much a little bit red colors mixed in dark purple, whatever you want to call it. That's a foot of snow. So there could be a decent amount of snow for some of those regions there, which you can see there 13 inches, then 21. And these numbers here will probably fluctuate a little bit more over the next few days. And keep in mind, it's starting on Wednesday, it is Sunday, so some things can change. So just to keep in mind of that as well. And this is the Canadian model throughout around the same time. You can see how similar this is. Quite a bit of snow potentially for really anywhere from the Midwest or the Ohio Valley into the portions of the Mid-Atlantic into the Northeast there. Could see multiple waves of snow there, with some isolated spots of picking up to a foot of snow in some places. And if we look to the European model now, this is going to be the 10-to-1 ratio. So it's not going to be that accurate. The most accurate, really, for snow measurements is the Cacciara ratio, like I show you on the other two. Which it does include, I believe it does include sleet and freezing rain, I think. So yeah, it does not show as much snow, but it does show a pretty good amount of snow across, we'll get a different color here. Probably should have done that earlier. But you can see a pretty decent amount of snow across portions of the Mid-Atlantic into the Northeast. But there's still a decent amount of snow across back into the portions of the Midwest. So this is definitely something we're going to be watching closely here. Now, my biggest concern is going to be this ice here. Now, this is not going to be an accurate amount of ice here. These walls typically overdo it. The most accurate way to measuring ice or whatever is this thing here, but I don't have it really, so I'll let you guys know what's probably a little bit more accurate here with this setup. So this is the GFS model here. You can see here, it got some pretty scary amounts of ice here. What I mean scary is high numbers of ice here. The numbers are quite high, just from the GFS, with some areas picking up close to an inch in some spots. You can see there for the GFS here. This would be a major ice storm if this were to verify, but I think at the max here for some of these regions here, it definitely seems like the models are trending higher with some of these ice amounts, which is concerning. But I think some of the highest amount of ice is going to be probably a quarter of an inch to maybe a half an inch of ice in some of these regions here, which ice storm territory is over a quarter of an inch of ice, which can cause some problems. But if you're going to get ice about as high as an inch, you're going to see widespread power outages, trees down, the roads will be extremely slick. So this is going to be something to watch here, which you can see are some of those ice accumulations could be as far southwest as just around, maybe around Dallas, Fort Worth area, and even up into Washington, D.C. But I think the main area of focus will be northeastern Arkansas, southeastern Missouri, northwestern Tennessee, most of Kentucky, southern Indiana, southern Ohio, and into western West Virginia as well. Those would be the regions for to watch for ice because they're going to have ice for a little bit longer period of time than some of those other regions there as well. So this is definitely something we're going to watch for very closely here. And if we look into the Canadian model with this, you can see by the ice amounts here, likely going to be overdone, but you can still see some spots picking up to an inch of ice. But I think it's fluctuating a little bit too much here. You can see here's another area of ice a little further to the south. Again, I think it's going to be a little bit more focused, a little bit more between here. You can see some spots picking up size an inch of ice, but I think some of the higher areas will be a quarter of an inch to maybe a half an inch of ice. But again, things can still change with this setup here. But so far, Bob's a little bit more focused on this region right in here. Which, you know, it could go a little bit north, could go a little bit south, but we're going to see about that. But the main area of focus is really just going to be most of Kentucky, you know, some of those other areas I've just said earlier on. Now, the European model does not have the ice thing on here, so I'm not able to show you guys that. But we could at least pretty quickly take a look at the ice amounts from the NAM and probably the high-res Canadian as well, really quick. Because this is probably going to be the most concerning part of this event here. It's getting these multiple rounds of ice here, which you can see here by the NAM, which is still freezing rain in some of these regions here. You got spots up to really over an inch, half an inch of ice in some of these spots here. So a decent amount of ice could be coming for these regions here, which I've seen some of the latest ice forecasts for this event here. They have some areas right now in a tenth of an inch of ice to a quarter of an inch of ice. But if the consistency continues, the confidence will increase. We could probably raise up some of those ice amounts just a little bit more. But right now, the area to watch is going to be this region right in there. And we can really quickly take a look to the highest Canadian with this. Which you can see here, the placement of this is pretty similar, so, but that could change a little bit more again. And here's the highest Canadian with this, and this is just the first wave here. And it's showing some pretty decent ice amounts across these regions here, up to a half inch of ice across northern Kentucky, southern Indiana, southern Illinois, southwestern Kentucky, southern Ohio, portions of West Virginia, northeastern Arkansas, and even including southern Missouri as well. So this is going to be a pretty big deal mid to late next week. It's going to be a pretty big deal, and we're going to watch for this pretty closely here. So I made a map for you guys here for this setup here for mid to late next week. So areas in the blue here, this is where you have multiple chances for snow, which I made to expand this probably to include a little bit more in these regions here. And that's where you can see possibly some several inches of snow after some of these waves of snow come by here. So that'd be something to watch here. Then areas in the purple here, there could be some ice going on in some of these regions here. The ice amounts are not looking to be too big or anything like that. But areas in the pink, however, where you can get multiple rounds of freezing rain that could be at times heavy, you have a chance to see an ice storm, which includes really a good chunk of Kentucky, southern Ohio, southern Indiana, southern Illinois, northern Arkansas, southeastern Missouri, even including western West Virginia as well. It does have the chance for a possibility for an ice storm in this region, which would be the area of focus as right now. Let me take this thing off, ignore. And then areas in the green here. Now this could possibly change, especially on the northern end of this. It's looking to be mostly rain at this point, but although that could change, especially with the last system, maybe right around Friday, some of this cold air may be able to sink a little bit further south after the last wave on Friday. So we'll be watching that pretty closely here, and we'll likely have more updates on this event as we get closer to this event. But Anyways, guys, this is Arc for you guys today. Hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you guys like this video, hit that like button. If you really do like my channel, hit the subscribe button. Hit the bell notification so you never miss an upload. If you guys have questions about this, you put it in the comment section down below. I'll answer you guys' questions. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Goodbye.